Okay, welcome to my attempt to teach geometry, well, my lesson plan to teach geometry using The Sims 3. Before I start moving into it, I want to mention a few things. This is going to take, 3 to 4 classes at least, but it should cover all of the outcomes, at least the way I've planned it. You'll definitely need a tape measure, and a smartboard is advised, but not entirely necessary, and you'll see why that is. So first off, before I move into the actual lesson plan, I just want to explain all these outcomes. Using SI and imperial units, they're going to experience both those in surface area measurements. They're going to solve problems that involve scale. They're going to solve problems with proportional reasoning and unit analysis, which is basically, it happens in one go. And also describe and draw exploded views and scale diagrams of 3D objects. So moving down, this lesson plan follows a brief introduction to surface area. So students should already be comfortable using the formulas and solving for surface area of basic shapes. So it kind of assumes that they've already had that introduction. And rather than replacing lesson plans, my use of The Sims 3 is actually more meant to be, it complements the learning that's already happening. And it consists of 5 parts, and they can all be done separately or combined. But whereas part A and B kind of occur on the same day in my setup, it doesn't have to be that way. They can all remain separate if they like. So let's just have a look at what the first day would entail. So I hand out an estimate sheet. They use a reference first off to kind of just guess, and it doesn't involve calculations. They just guess, how long is the room, that side of the room, and then they use these guesses to actually make a guess at the overall the surface area. That's an SI units. And then so anything in gray would appear on their worksheet. That would be something they're responsible for. Give me your estimate. Doesn't matter how far off it is. And then I show them quickly how to calculate the imperial equivalent of that in square feet. And then of course, they'll make their own calculation of that based on their estimate. The last thing is that they would, hopefully, we'd be able to end off with the square feet and square footage being kind of differentiated. And depending on how much time there is left, I'd move right into, here's your guess. Let's find the actual dimensions and the actual surface area. So, it could just continue right on after that. So I'd hand out the measured sheet. And then working in pairs, they'd use a tape measure to record the actual dimensions of the classroom. And that does take quite a fair bit of time, just setting it up. And also to do this in imperial units, because the answers will be given that way. Lastly, I'd have them calculate the percent error by this formula and see how close they were, how close their estimate was to the actual surface area that they measured, and should be fairly accurate if they took the right measurements. They might be a little bit off, but nothing compared to their estimate. That's my prediction. And not to say that it would for sure go that way. Percent error would be something that they would again be responsible for, and that would show up on the actual worksheets. And then we move into part C, and that would probably be a different day. And I'd say, here's the classroom. I built a virtual model of this using The Sims 3. Let's have a look. I'd have them draw or describe any discrepancies, anything they see that I miss. Hey, that's a little off. And then we go around the room and I'd sort of pick them off one by one. Okay, yeah, we could add that. We could add that. It's just another way to get them to draw and describe 3D objects. As a class, we count and record the number of wall units looking at the virtual classroom. I'll pause here. Okay, so this is my classroom kind of recreated in virtual, in The Sims 3. I have my whiteboard up right to the right of this door here, and I can already see some things that are missing that they might say, well, first of all, where's the whiteboard and stuff? So maybe they could draw that in. But the idea is that they kind of see the value in using this program to recreate versus I would say that the other option was Minecraft, and I go into this in a bit of detail, is that Minecraft seems more like a place to create versus the recreation that you can simulate in The Sims 3. As you can see, there's my desk up over here. We've got the computer, and I think that would actually be kind of a way for them to buy in. I don't know, but we can at least use this program to teach geometry in this way. And so you can see that we could count as a class, 1, 2, 3, it's a little finicky, 4. On a smartboard, this would be probably a little bit easier. 5, right? So you could count how many units this wall in total is. So you can probably guess where I'm going here. Not only have they kind of estimated and counted got the actual surface area of the room, now let's see what my recreation is. So they could actually use this to calculate the surface area of my virtual model of the classroom. And so maybe I'll show you another version of this. Okay, so this is a little better. And what I've done is something that I would do kind of as I was teaching this part of the class, but they're responsible for coming up with the surface area of my virtual model. They might wonder, well, how do we do that? It's kind of a weird classroom, and it is, fair enough. What I really like about The Sims is that they actually kind of have imposed these graph lines, right? So it's like them using graph paper or something. They could easily split this into shapes and then solve for the individual shapes and then add them together. So for a rectangle, right? But they'd have to really work out, where. That's why I said don't just take dimensions of the perimeter of the classroom. They'd have to actually work out the dimensions. That's not a perimeter, but you can see how it would be important. Okay. So once that's all done, they would kind of calculate the actual to the virtual scale. They'd use, by comparing the ratio of one room's wall to a virtual one here, they could calculate the scale that was used to create the model. So you can see how many units. I mean, that's 1, right? That's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, that's 6. So 6 across, and they could compare that to the actual scale, the actual dimensions of that wall. Okay. I can't really visualize a lot of teachers using it, being able to have these kind of exclusive conditions to be able to use it. But for me, I think that this is going to go over quite well, especially if they show an interest. I can say, you know what, I created our entire school, actually, if you guys want to even take this further and go and do the other rooms. So there's kind of a little bit more enrichment that way. There's ways to enrich if students show that kind of interest. So that's pretty much the lesson plan, the power of using The Sims, and what I would do with it. So hope you enjoyed it.